Right now, this does feel like a Super Bowl preview.
Bills, Lions, possible Super Bowl preview.
I don't think there's any other option for the Bills. The Bills are not going to be able to stop Detroit's offense.
Here's the other thing that will happen if the Bills lose this game, and I think they will. You know what people will start doing? Be like, wait a minute. Why is Josh Allen the MVP and not Lamar Jackson?
NFL fans are in for an absolute treat this weekend. The NFC's #1 seeded Detroit Lions are hosting the most dangerous team in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills, in what is a heavyweight clash for the ages and potentially a preview of this year's Super Bowl. I mean, like, there's offensive talent for days, MVP narratives to observe, and playoff seeding on the line. Like, the stakes couldn't get any higher, and in today's video, I'm going to preview the game and give exactly what I think is going to happen at the end of the video, along with why I think that the Detroit Lions are going to lose this game. This weekend's clash between the Detroit Lions and Buffalo Bills would be just the second time that these teams have faced off in the last 6 seasons, as their last meeting saw the Bills visit Ford Field in 2022 to tackle an up-and-coming Detroit side who were on the earliest stages of their resurgence. Dan Campbell's men had started the season 1-6 before winning 8 of their last 10 games to put the league on absolute notice. One of those 2 losses, though, came at the hands of Josh Allen and the Bills, who just about managed to edge out a 28-25 win. Allen was in prime game-breaking form, passing for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air, while also tacking on 78 yards and 1 more score from 10 carries on the ground. I mean, honestly, it was a valiant effort from the Lions, but they were 4-6 and they were given very little chance, and with the Bills going on to enjoy a 13-3 record that season, this game perhaps was the earliest sign of an NFC powerhouse in Detroit. Since that game, though, in 2022, the Lions have gone 29-7 in regular season games, setting up their first playoff win in over 30 years before falling just 1 game short of the Super Bowl, losing to San Francisco by 3 points in the NFC Championship game. Dan Campbell showed his maturity and leadership when admitting to the press that despite their incredible success in 2023, they could not take anything for granted, and it would be incredibly hard to get back to the same spot in 2024. Well, after 14 weeks, they've lost 1 game, and right now, they look like they're going to get back to that spot, and it looked pretty damn easy too. That's the thing though, because Detroit's opponent this week in Buffalo has been an absolute juggernaut as well since 2022. Since the clash in 2022, the Bills boast a 26-9 regular season record, winning their division in 2023 before also suffering a painful playoff loss once again to the Kansas City Chiefs. That also marked their 3rd consecutive divisional round exit and their 3rd playoff loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in 4 years. That's a damaging dose of playoff heartbreak, and to have rebounded with a 10-3 record in 2024 tells you all you need to know about the mental makeup of this team. The fact of the matter is though, right now we are looking at 2 teams that have pretty much laid out the perfect foundation, or just perfect blueprint for being contenders this season. And I think the craziest, or at least the coolest thing too, is they've gone about it in 2 completely different ways. As we all know, Detroit took a gamble on Jared Goff that has paid out big time, while also compiling draft picks and smashing every single selection out of the park. Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams, Kirby Joseph, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, and Brian Branch all joined the team between 2021 and 2023. And on top of that too, I mean, the 2024 class is also looking fantastic as well. Like, the hit rate on their draft picks that they have taken has been remarkable, and honestly is what really has led to them being able to rebuild this team into what they are as we see them right now. Like, I think we all forget that it was just 3 years ago that this team, with a lot of the same players, was 3-13-1, and now they are the best team in the NFC, bar none. When we flip to the other side though, over in Buffalo, savvy roster management has helped prolong their Super Bowl window in a year that many believe the odds were stacked against them. Talented veterans such as Mitch Morris, Stephon Diggs, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, Leonard Floyd, and others were all sent packing to help get this team under the cap. And I mean, really from the outside, it looked like these losses were going to be insurmountable, therefore closing the Bills' Super Bowl window, but the outcome has been so far and away from that as possible. The Bills, aided by a strong offensive line and an MVP-worthy season from Josh Allen, have emerged as the most daunting team in the AFC. And now, yes, I know that they did fall off in frustrating fashion to the LA Rams, but they still put up 42 points and look as dangerous on offense as any other team in the NFL. Of course, it is the Chiefs who hold the #1 seed in the AFC, but they have beaten the Panthers, Raiders, and Chargers by just 7 points combined in the last 3 weeks, and lost by 9 points to these Buffalo Bills before that underwhelming run. I mean, then in the NFC, you have very few people who would argue against the Lions being the best in the conference, currently sitting at the 1 seed with a 12-1 record, which brings us to this Week 15 clash, which is arguably the game of the year. Like right now, I mean, these two teams, it looks like a Super Bowl preview that we are getting this week, and honestly, whoever does win this game is most likely going to be at the top of all of the power rankings that we see the following week. Despite win or lose, it's probably still going to be the Bills. To make things even more exciting though, Detroit and Buffalo currently stand clear as the top 2 scoring teams in the NFL, averaging over 30 points per game each, and it's fair to say that we should be expecting some fireworks this weekend. Unsurprisingly though, the bookies actually have everything pretty close. The Detroit Lions currently hold the slight edge as home favorites with odds of -125, with the Buffalo Bills are narrowing underdogs at +105. Detroit does of course have 2 more wins on the season and will definitely be playing in front of their home crowd, but they also have some reasons to be concerned. The biggest of those reasons is their injuries on defense, as they went into last week's game against Green Bay banged up, and it somehow felt as they were losing players every single drive. Like, let's not forget that the 2 primary edge rushers on this team to start the year were Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport, both of whom were lost in the first 6 weeks of the season. Hutch was by far the biggest loss they've had, as he seemed well on track for a Defensive Player of the Year season, racking up a league-leading 7.5 sacks from those 6 games. As a result, now Detroit is relying on some players who weren't even on the roster in week 1, with Zadarius Smith taking over as the primary pass rusher and players like Kawan Alexander and Miles Adams being brought in to immediately play important snaps against Green Bay in week 14. Despite all this turmoil on defense though, Detroit is just giving up 18 points per game, which is the second fewest in the NFL. They are still ranking 4th in the NFL in pressure rate at 25.3% and are also 4th in interceptions with 14. Like, I mean, honestly, it really is just incredible to see what defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn has been able to do with just all of these significant injuries that have put people on the IR all season long. This week, that banged up unit will be tested by MVP frontrunner Josh Allen, who is piloting an offense that is 2nd in scoring this year, averaging 30.5 points per game. And I mean, despite the loss in LA in week 14, Allen proved just what a one-man wrecking crew he is and somehow managed to bolster his MVP chances despite being on the losing side. Allen posted over 420 yards of total offense and 6 touchdowns alone last week, and will now turn his attention to a Lions unit that won't shy away from a fight, even though they might be down several key starters. And I mean, look, straight up, the Bills, what they want to do is run the ball. Their 27.8 rushing attempts per game is the 9th most in the NFL, whereas their 30.5 pass attempts per game are all the way down at 21st. And I mean, honestly, in that sense, that is a good matchup for Detroit, who has given up the 5th fewest rushing yards on the season. However, just because Buffalo likes to run the ball doesn't mean that they aren't incredibly dangerous when passing. I mean, Josh Allen is an MVP frontrunner for a reason. Allen's completed 64% of his passes on the year for 3,033 yards, 23 touchdowns, and just 5 interceptions, proving that everyone who wrote him off because of the departure of Stephon Diggs was wrong. Khalil Shakir has stepped up with 735 yards and 3 touchdowns out of the slot, proving to be one of the most reliable options in the entire NFL. He's caught 65 of his 81 targets on the season, including some incredibly tough contested catches last week against the Rams. Rookie Keon Coleman has popped up with some very good plays from time to time, but more importantly, last week's game against LA showed signs of Amari Cooper finally getting involved. Cooper had 14 targets in week 14, and while he only caught 6 of them, they did go for a season-high 95 yards. He was brought in to be a big-bodied go-to guy for Allen on the outside, and it looks like Allen is now willing to trust him more. The Lions are much more susceptible through the air, ranking 24th in the NFL with 224.7 passing yards conceded per game. I mean, they've really just been sloppy when it comes to penalties also, giving up a league-leading 17 defensive pass interference penalties. 7 of these have come from rookie cornerback Teron Arnold, which means a big-bodied veteran wideout like Amari Cooper could spell trouble for a grabby secondary. I mean, honestly, with just the penalties that could accrue from just Amari Cooper being Amari Cooper against a rookie cornerback, and then when you stack on the injuries too, Josh Allen should be able to put up a significant amount of points. The good news for Detroit though, and really just anybody rooting for Detroit, is that if we all saw the game, or you saw it last week against the Rams, then Detroit's probably going to be able to score some points against this Bills defense. On the season, Buffalo ranks 8th in points conceded, but falls to 15th in yards conceded. They're coming off of a game in which they gave up 44 points to the Rams, allowing them to convert 11 of their 15 third down attempts. I mean, simply put, they didn't have an answer for Puka Nacua, who had 178 total yards and 2 touchdowns, which came from 17 touches. Sean McVay's offense was able to dominate possession by 38 minutes to just 20 22 for Buffalo, which is not what Sean McDermott wanted to see the week before he has to go up against one of the most physical offenses in the NFL. That's the thing about the Lions. They are built to bully their opponents and just have the time of possession game completely locked up. Like, I mean, their offensive line is arguably one of the best, if not the best in the NFL, making life easy for the best running back tandem in the NFL, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, or as many of us now know them as Sonic and Knuckles. Gibbs has emerged as one of the best all-around running backs in the NFL, having already hit 1,016 yards and 9 touchdowns at 5.7 yards per carry, while also adding 312 more yards and 2 scores through the air. Montgomery is more of a bruiser, collecting 771 yards and 12 touchdowns of his own, but don't be fooled, he can be elusive as well. He also has over 300 yards through the air, which is what makes the tandem so special. They can both attack you in so many different ways, and there's only been one game this season where neither player has scored. Sonic and Knuckles have propelled Detroit to the 4th most rushing yards on the season, but their presence has also helped the team register a league-high 72.5% completion rate when dropping back to pass. Jared Goff has cruised his way to 3,265 yards and 25 touchdowns this year, protected well by his offensive line and given tremendous throwing lanes because of a great threat of the run. He comfortably leads the NFL with 1,580 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions on play action passes this year as well. All in all though, I mean, this is a Lions unit that's going to want to prove how good they are offensively against this good defense, but also the Bills defense is going to want to prove that that game last week against the Rams isn't going to happen again. Greg Rousseau, AJ Epineza, and Von Miller can all be a handful on their day, with cornerback Christian Benford continuing to be a stud in his 3rd season. Like, I mean, there is a lot of talent in this unit, and Mike McDermott and DC Bobby Babbage will no doubt have their guys ready to go in this crucial clash. I mean, it really is just going to be box office entertainment, with the winner emerging as the best team in the NFL, and it could very well be a preview of this season's Super Bowl in New Orleans, and it could also be a huge game in the hunt for the MVP award, with Josh Allen looking to separate himself from the pack even more. For me though, that's who's going to be the key to this whole thing, is Josh Allen. Like, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, he almost single-handedly got the job done last week against the LA Rams, and I really do think that the injuries hampering the Detroit defense this week will make them susceptible to Josh Allen's masterclass. He's far more capable than his opposite number in this game, and this crucial clash at Ford Field is the perfect spot for his iconic MVP winning moment. With Khalil Shakir catching everything over the middle, Amari Cooper getting more involved on the outside, and a combination of James Cook and Allen himself in the run game, I think that Buffalo does get this job done this week. And if you want to see the 19 wide receivers that were drafted before Puka Nacua, click this video right here.